Black culture trash.
Let's go.
So we're gonna dive into a whole lot of discussions about this because, of course, we're not saying that all black culture is trash. We're black. We are the culture, right? First and foremost, we got a special guest on. This is our senior, Mr. Robert Utley of the Robert Utley Show.
Nice
Welcome,
to
brother.
be here.
Welcome,
Nice to be
man.
here. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to FMF, man.
Thank you.
Check out the Robert Utley Show on Anchor. Link will be in description. We call him Robert the Prophet, and that's because he's been doing a whole lot of unraveling African history. So that's why we have him on the podcast today, because we're going to be talking about black culture specifically. So, what are y'all thoughts on it? Why do we feel like black culture is trash? What's the trash aspect of black culture?
I feel like the trash aspect of the culture is the negativity
Ooh.
that our culture promotes.
Mm.
And by that, I mean, we call our women bitches.
That's my
You
bitch.
know what I'm saying? We hurt each other. You know, we
Fuck that
always
nigga.
killing, stealing from one another.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Ain't
just
no
it's just
truth.
a lot of negativity, a lot of crab in the barrel mentality that get promoted and get monetized on top of that through society. And that's the thing I have an issue with
No,
when
man.
it comes to our culture.
I mean, you might be right, because some people say that we do that, but they say it's done by the oppressors. They making us do that. You think this is us doing it?
I think it's systematic.
Or why you think it's systematic? Because people may seem like they'll hear that statement and they'll be like, oh, it's promoted a lot on TV saying that we do this type of stuff. And they say that the other culture, they're promoting it and making us seem like we're doing that. Like they're pushing it more. They're pushing it more.
Well, They,
That
they
makes
are
sense?
pushing. They are pushing it because that's what sells.
Yeah.
Like violence sells.
So are you taking responsibility away from us, or are you putting it on them, on why they portray it?
I think the responsibility ultimately come down to us. It comes to us standing up and standing strong on what we want to promote and what we want to put out there. So if everybody was to come together and say, no, we're not going to promote drugs and violence and over-sexualized society, then we wouldn't have that issue. They wouldn't be monetizing and exploiting us in that aspect.
That sounds good.
You know what I'm saying? But I would say it takes a process, though, because where we at now, it took a long period of time for us to get to where we at now.
Been a lot of brainwashing.
And
Yeah,
go ahead.
Brainwashing.
I'd like to chime in by saying that the ones who go out here and do what they consider successful, you know, the car, the home, the good job, I just want to give our people the props before I dive into it, because in order to do that in this society, you are freaking special. You are a miracle.
To do what? Which
It is
part?
impossible for you to go through a traumatic experience. And when I say traumatic, when we go through the education system, there are really little to no positive images of our people. So first of all, not to have anything to go off of, it's just like building a puzzle without the box. You're just giving all these pieces. So without having that initial image on what success or a high self-esteem is like, first of all, for us to look at something and be like, I'm gonna do the opposite, understand like the brain doesn't naturally work that way. So in order for you to do something like that, again, that's not the norm. So all of us, by being here today, is above the norm.
Social norm, exactly.
So, I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. And when I sent out a message the other day about send me a positive rap song, I was amazed that nobody can give me any rapper of the 21st century.
And that's
that didn't curse.
That didn't
didn't
curse. I
use-
didn't want to hear the N-bomb. I didn't want to hear the B-bomb. I just wanted to say, I like to say this. KRS-One and Chuck did not ever receive a Grammy because their music was what we started the hip hop culture about. And again, hip hop culture is the longest black culture arts in America today. So as far as black culture, hip hop is our longest cultural art form. So when we started hip hop, it was about rebellion against the system.
Originally.
You know, KRS-One, Black Cop, and now we're looking at where we are pushing or promoting an agenda. And the reason that I know that our brothers across seas don't do this, because I've seen many African rappers, when they come to America, the first thing they notice is the lie. He said, all these cars in our videos, we own them. You know, he was saying it was very amazing for us to come over here and have all these Bugattis or Lamborghinis in videos, and then it's time to go to lunch afterwards, and then we jump into a little Impala or something.
Right.
You know, so
To get off the image.
but again, the image that they're pushing to us is that that's what successes look like. But even to the rappers, even to them, pushing the culture forward, or part of the initial black culture, hip hop, is still pushing a lot. So again, a lot of things is, I'm not in the habit of blaming, and I'm close with this one. I'm not in the habit of blaming the victim.
It sounds like you're a victim blaming a little bit.
He don't like this victim mentality.
Yeah,
But-
I'm not gonna rip into that yet because I don't like that part. But go ahead.
Okay.
What I want you to do is give the definition of culture.
Because that's the point. Is we say
Give the
we say
definition
it's trash.
of culture.
So
What's the trash
you
aspect?
hit it a little bit.
Culture is spirituality, arts. It's also oral traditions, things that we pass down to the next generation.
That we've gotten away from. We can't have community without communication, and we don't talk to each other. So that old tradition automatically is dissipating.
Yeah.
It's going away. You know what I mean? A lot of, like, you look at it now, what I don't like is the younger generation feel like they don't have nothing to learn from the older generation. They don't want to talk to the grandparents. They don't want to spend time with the elders. They don't want to look, they're not looking, if you don't know history, that's why history repeats itself. You know what I mean? So that's what I don't like. One of the aspects of the culture that I don't like. I also don't like the degradation of us and the fact that we can't see past us. Our people have a harder time trusting each other than we do outside. I could be selling you a product that's an amazing product that I make myself, and you'll question it, give me a whole questionnaire and still don't buy it. But a European person to come like, hey, this is it. And you're like, okay, right away. You know what I mean? It's like, I trust this already. It's shown that it's greener on the other side. It's shown that this is better. It's always better outside. That's what I don't like about the culture.
No, and I don't. To dig deeper in, so I want to stick on that point that you said that you it's good to recognize our accomplishments, and it's good to be like we came from somewhere and we did go through a lot of things. 400 years is never going to go away, and I think it should be highlighted more, even longer than, of course, 400 plus. My apologies, you're right. I think it should be highlighted. It should be recognized. But we have to divide a point where we can't stay in a victim mindset where it be like, because we went through this, we should be doing this. I think at a point we should say, okay, we went through that. It's cool.
Like detach ourselves
from it and stop going to the fact that because we're great here, because we were put down here.
It's the same mentality. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Yeah, you're right. I don't want us to always be that way, because it gets to a victim mindset that was like, okay, we did good because we did here, or you should give us this because we was here. We got to stop that off eventually. When is the point where we got to stop getting into this victim Olympics and being like, yo, all right, we need to stand on our 2 feet and be like, we don't care about that no more. We have to build off of it, because honestly, to tell you the truth, bro, we read about it, and like you said, we don't see our face in the history books and stuff like that in school. But none of us were oppressed like our ancestors were, so we can't lean on their depression forever.
I question that.
How you?
Because
I understand that. Go ahead. Or break it down.
if you just look at these numbers,
Uh-huh.
after we got the right to vote, 1836,
Not that long ago, exactly.
right?
Right.
Which also brings up the question, in what world were we marching for Martin Luther King days? But anyway,
Right.
for that 100 years, where we talk about the Jim Crow era, on record, there's probably 1,800 lynchings.
Right.
Now compare that number to, if we are 4 million, 5 million people strong today in America, if 40% of our people is in mass incarcerations,
Okay.
compare that number to the lynchings. So again, when you talk about the difference between covert and overt, yes, racism or supremacy is not blatantly seeing a body hanging from a tree as it was back then with our ancestors. But to think that oppression is over, that the gameplay is still in motion, I'm just not in the point to wrap my head around that
So
and,
you saying-
and,
No,
I didn't
and
wanna-
think that's possible.
Maybe I said that wrong. I won't say oppression is completely over. You're right, and I don't want to say that because that's wrong.
There's
The
different
culture
rules
is
to the
still
game.
around. Just because, like you said, lynching here doesn't mean the effects of like there's different ways of oppression. Meaning like the same way it is, you can be abused physically, you could be abused mentally.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's
it's the
what they
same type of way. So I don't want to say that, and I apologize if I said that wrong.
Well, yeah.
It's just that I don't think the severity is as strong. Sometimes I feel that way, and I don't want our people to stay in a depressed way where they always like, oh, I'm a victim. I don't want to be in a victim mindset forever. It makes you weak. I don't want to feel that way. Same way with the world is now with the C word and the jabs and everything, and people are so scared when it comes to that. Instead of relying on this modern medicine and get to a point where you can heal yourself a different way and not relying on the government with the pharmaceuticals. I have my way of thinking on that too. That's a victim mindset where you think that you can't be able to cure yourself without somebody else, and thinking that you have to lean on somebody else, lean on the culture of being everybody together. Oh, we victims together, so we need to keep relying on that forever. My point is, it has to stop somewhere.
It's what
Is
you
there a
focusing
way
on.
to stop? Is there a time for us to stop relying on that, or we gonna keep on just thinking about the oppression all the
Right,
time?
right.
But I gotta tell you, out of my circle, real brief, like out of my circle,
Uh-huh.
I don't have victims in my circle. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
the
that's
people,
what, like,
so the people that I talk with are like the people right here. I mean, it's that. But to me, the universe. Some people call it prayer. Some people call it meditation. But the universe typically gives you whatever you want from it.
Mm-hmm.
So to know and understand that, you know, so I have no limitations.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing that I can't achieve.
But we don't all think like that. And
Oh, yeah.
that's the issue is like the culture as a whole
Mhm.
has the victim mentality.
Exactly.
And let's lean
Yeah.
on the oppression side, and let's, you know, like what else?
But I think what it is a lot of people don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn. They got no sense of history.
Yeah.
You know, so you put people in a box and you've been beating up on them for all this long, and then you set them free. It's like
They still gonna
they
have
still
that cage
stuck in that.
mentality.
They still stuck in that same mentality until somebody come along or a group of people come along and show them a better way.
You think we're just still finding our way?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
because we're stripped of our names, we're stripped of our
Yeah.
culture, so we made up this culture, and we're
That's-
thinking that it's okay to do it.
That's why this man is essential, because he's unraveling African history before slavery.
I don't dive into the victim part.
Yeah, exactly.
I call it our interruption. Like my talks are never about the interruption.
Uh-huh.
Again, I love this saying. When you change your beliefs, you change your expectations. When you change your expectations, you change your attitude. When you change your attitude, you change your behavior. When you change your behavior, you change your performance. And when you change your performance, you change your life. You can't change your attitude by just changing your attitude. You can't change your behavior by just changing your behavior. It always triggers back. So now, what is our belief system? What do we believe?
It's gone. We know it.
Christianity.
Our whole belief system is based on, and I got nothing against it. I like to call
Which
it
part?
assimilation.
Oh, okay.
Religion.
But to wrap it up though, I just want to say this. If you look up the word Hellenistic or Hellenism,
Uh-huh.
it means Greek culture. And I say that word is important because if you look at the root word of that, hell, ever since we have taken on assimilation, parts of another culture, which is what makes up the black culture. It's a mix between Africa and America.
Right.
Once we created this assimilated culture and incorporated some holistic ways, it's been hell on earth for us ever since.
When did this start? You think?
I give it 568 years. 1453, Gomez de Zurara wrote a book.
Oh, yeah.
And with that book, He said these 3 infamous words, and the whole game for us changed. From my point, this is my starting point, when he used the words inferior and beastly. During a time where we were in a high civilized societies,
We were the first.
but it was that pen. And that's why I say that most times the pen is mightier than the sword. So this book that was paid by the Portuguese king for him to write, that was the worldview that people began to have on Africans. And ever since then, you know, a great book too to read is Maccabees, the first chapter, first Maccabees, the first 15 verses, where it tells you that we was begging at one point
Still begging now.
to be a part of their culture.
Still doing. You said was or still?
Please forgive me for
Yes.
my sororities and fraternities,
I think we still are.
but it's hard for me to put this big old African body in that tight Greek jacket.
Okay. Okay.
So yes, even today,
Yes. I wanted you.
Alpha,
yeah.
Alpha, Llama, Llama, yes,
Yeah.
we are still
Why is
assimilated.
that? And that it's kind of demeaning, and it makes us look weak when we do that. And to break off the point where you first started, like we have to have a Grammy. Why? Who's Grammys made for? Why do we have to have the stature of a artist, a rapper, anything like that? They want to have a Grammy that's not even our award. Why can't we have our own award? That's trying to make. Please give me a Grammy.
That
'Cause
was
you want to be
shaped after
pleased.
a black person too. But yeah,
When?
no, the Grammy was shaped after a black person. The actual, like, the trophy.
Well, educate me. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Break it down.
They
Talking about
basic, yeah.
It
Basic-
was.
Huh?
Oh dang.
you got an audience.
But no, educate me. I didn't know that.
Well, anything you could think of, and he clearly explained it. Anything you could think of that our predecessors or whoever, whatever you want to call it, outside of African,
Right.
basically just stolen from African and twisted a little bit. You know what I mean?
I can understand that.
So like the Grammy was sculpted after an African person. That's why it's like so strong and it stands.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's sculpted after an African person.
Okay. I mean, you know that. I'm looking at it now.
But part of the
Why we want to be accepted so much? Why we want to be accepted so much as a culture?
because ultimately it's in our DNA to
Yeah, that's a human nature.
we have what we call moral complacency. It's in our DNA to be in a leadership role, to lead, to guide. Because
As a man?
because
Or
man,
you thought
woman,
Okay. anybody.
because now I like to say this when you say woman, because again I can't forget women. See now,
No.
speaking of like Grammys and statues,
Right.
so the statue of Akhenaten. So his wife Nefertiti. Now in the sculpture, you know, she is kind of a smaller figure. She's holding the legs of Akhenaten. Outsiders looking at that and then coming back and forth with their interpretation of that is when they decided that women were less than men. And that's been the culture, because I tell people like, so Hatshepsut was a first queen in Africa.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about the 1400 BC. Then I ask people, when did women get their rights to vote here in America?
1832. No. That was
we,
when
they
we
gave
got-
us the right before they even gave their women. The Europeans gave their women to vote.
Right.
1960s, right? So the concept is, we already knew the importance of our woman. And then again, in that stature, what that meant was she was the roots. No tree can stand without strong roots.
Exactly.
So that was our meaning, but they took it as the women is less than the man, and then they created a culture like that. Their women was not allowed to work, sitting on the porch with their umbrella, cucumber sandwiches.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I mean, and that's where that type of knowledge. But again, if you, and that's why I say that puzzle box. If you don't know, and if you just learning by the culture that we're in,
Yes. What you see, representation really matters, man.
and I like to say this phrase: the brain is always a victim to repetition. Because our brain, when it takes information, it takes everything that it sees and hears, it takes it as truth.
Yeah. Yeah. They know. Yeah.
So everything that we see, before consciousness kicks in, before spirituality kicks in, That's
what
true.
it is.
That's the way it is.
That's what it is.
Man.
But again, if we don't got nothing to look back on, you know, a image or a story,
We just go with the flow.
we're going with the flow. And then one thing that we do, but one thing about us that's so great is that, but we still become great achievers, no matter the environment, no matter the society.
you can't
we
break
still
us.
know how to break free.
You can't break us.
You
bro.
can't break us.
But it goes, you're right, we see what we do, but we do have a moral compass of right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. Every time we have an excuse, it's still a right and wrong. Like you said earlier, we calling them bees and killing each other. We know what's right and wrong. Why do we keep on pushing on the wrong? And we know it is. We're not dumb. That's the thing that people act dumb with it. Be like, oh, that's all I know. That's how I was growing up. You know the difference between right and wrong.
And can I address
Go ahead.
the killing each other?
Please.
Right?
80% of crime is done due to proximity.
Like what's around us.
What's around us.
Okay.
So a lot of times, killing takes place by those that have once or maybe once or twice in their life said, "I love you" to you, because that's the only person that really pushes our button and takes us there.
Right.
No, we don't go around really shooting up strangers and
Right.
people that we don't know.
Right.
In the most part, the bulk of it, no.
Right?
Okay.
So now, 1% of black people do violent crimes. So I just want to say that the numbers are really low. Now the media pushes a lot about
course.
black on black crime, and that's what we don't hear about, you know, white on white crime, yellow on yellow crime. But I just want to say that I just wanted to get that out there, that is a big focus that the media pushes out there, but the actual numbers are really lower than it is.
believe that.
And again, we actually stick with our kids a lot more than the European does. But that is a big part of the conversation too, that we abandon, you know, especially the men, we abandon our kids.
Yeah, some white people on
They've shown us
welfare,
statistics that black men are most involved in their kids.
Yeah, yeah.
They showed us statistics of that.
All right, so look, that's a good stopping point, man.
Yeah.
Yo,
It's
we
part one.
draw some gems for y'all for part
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Y'all make
yeah.
sure y'all stay tuned. We're gonna give y'all part two in a second.
Yeah.